Great morning. Great morning. You guys come on in. Come on in. While you're coming in, I'm going to do not disturb. All right. Come on in, you guys. Great morning, April. Girl, where you at? Well, you guys, I am on the road. I took this trip. It's supposed to be like 10 hours and 20 minutes, but it turned into 9 hours because of when I left. So I left during a time where there wasn't a lot of traffic, and it has allowed me to knock off like 68 minutes of my trip. So even with stops, I'm making very good time. I'm going to be there well in advance of Miss April getting to the airport. Make sure you send me your airline information and stuff. Um, I'm on the mountain. I'm not going to be looking at you guys, but I'm going to be talking to you. Okay? So today's drive-by is each journey begins with a single step. Each journey begins with a single step. Now, one of the things that I'm real clear on is that when we're taking a journey, and it doesn't matter what that journey is, and it doesn't matter what area of our life we're talking about, when you're taking a journey, that journey is always going to start with you making a decision and taking a step, making a decision and taking a step. One of the things that I know for me is that this year has been all about single steps. I didn't know what the end was going to be. I didn't know where I would end up. I didn't know what was going to happen. All I knew was that I was given an instruction and I had to take a step. Take that step in faith. Take that step believing that God had me, that He would work it out, that whatever step He told me to take, it was for my good and not my harm, that He already had the plan, the end result. You know, when you think about the scripture that says that He knew you before you were ever formed in your mother's womb, that means that He knows everything about you, knew everything about you, every obstacle you would encounter, every step that you would need to take, every challenge that you would face. He already knew those things. And not only did He already know those things, He had already created a plan for you to get to the other side of whatever challenges you encounter. So why do you need to be afraid of a step? Why? See, that fear is ingrained in us from childhood. It is that defense mechanism in our brain that is designed to protect us from what is perceived as danger. You know, I often say, danger, danger, Will Robertson, danger. Well, that's what that is. Our brain is designed to protect us. And because our brain is designed to protect us, it goes into protection mode anytime there is a perceived risk, a perceived obstacle, a perceived challenge, something that could hurt us physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, like any area of our life. It is designed relationally. Like it is designed to say, hey, danger, danger, don't do that. Remember when you did that before and this happened? Remember when you saw somebody else try to do that and it didn't work for them? Remember when you were told that you couldn't do this and you couldn't do that? Remember, it is designed to keep you in a place of protection. But the problem is this. The problem is someone's got to be able to do it, right? Somebody's got to be able to break the generational curse. Somebody's got to be able to go further. Somebody's got to be able to do something different and not get the results that maybe other people got. Or maybe it's a matter of, yeah, you may get those results over and over and over and over and over and over and over again until you don't get those results anymore. Formula 409, 408 times they created a formula that didn't work. But on the 409th time, they created something that made them millions of dollars. Millions. You know, I've been watching the Netflix documentary of Harry and Meghan, right? Meghan did something that had not been done. She was a woman of color in the royal family. And listen, you can't get too much safer than Meghan. Meghan looks like she could be white. You know, she's got the hair, she's got the skin tone, she's got all of those things, right? But she is still very much a black woman. And as we look at their journey and the things that they went through, the things that the royal family did, not to protect her, to throw her under the bus, that things that the press did to make her look like the angry black woman and all of the stereotypes associated with African descended people, you discover that it didn't matter. It didn't matter how white she looked. It didn't matter how straight her hair. It didn't matter the circles that she was in. It didn't matter that she was a celebrity. It didn't matter that she had her own money. None of those things mattered. What mattered was the color of her skin created a problem. It messed with the narrative. It messed with the norm. And so as things began to transpire, it was her fault. Everything was Meghan's fault. Meghan did it. But everything wasn't Meghan's fault. She said something in the documentary that really stood out to me because it spoke to some of the saboteurs that we may have in our life. It's a phrase that's often heard. In fact, it's one of the most common things that people say as it relates to them and their identity. She said, I did everything that I could to fit in, and it wasn't enough. Most people, if they struggle with anything in their identity, it is the question of, am I enough? Am I enough to take this journey? Am I enough to do this? Am I enough to be treated the way I desire to be treated? Am I enough? The fact is, you are enough. You're more than enough. When God created us, the Word of God declares that we are fearfully and wonderfully made, that we are the apple of His eye. Come on now. In Genesis, as it talks about creation, He talks about God creating man. And everything that God created, He said, and it was good. So if everything that God created was good, how is it that we would assume that we're not enough? Not enough for a particular situation or circumstance, not enough for other people. Maybe you're not enough for them. Maybe you're not. But it doesn't mean you're not enough. Maybe you're not what they want, not what they desire, not what they're anticipating. But that's okay, because guess what? We're not for everyone, but we are for certain people. There are certain people that we have a calling to, certain people that we are connected to. And we've got to remember that. Don't throw yourself away because someone else says you're not enough and you're not good enough. Even if you've not made the best choices, even if you haven't done everything right, even if you've had to have redo after redo after redo after redo, sometimes those redos and the choices that you've made are rooted in a feeling that you're not enough, which causes you to settle for less than you deserve because you don't feel like you deserve it. You don't think that you're worthy. You don't think that you're good enough. You don't think that um, someone could want you like that, love you like that. But that's not necessarily the truth. Those are the lies our saboteurs tell us to keep us in certain places and certain mindsets and from making certain choices and decisions, for stepping out on faith to do things that the world may say is impossible. I don't often do um, 10-hour trips by myself. I've done a few. Normally, I try to get to a place and stop, rest in between, and then continue on. But I needed to make this trip in one trip. And that's what I've done. And it looked like it was going to be extremely difficult, but it hasn't been. Like, I literally got on the road at about 11, and I've just been driving, you know, stop for gas and bathroom, stop for gas and bathroom, stop for gas and bathroom. And I kept going because it started with a single step. That step to get in the car, to turn it on, to say, listen, I'm doing this. I got to do this. I got to get this done because I have someplace I have to be. Now, I'm not saying this is what everyone should do. I'm not saying that um, this was the ideal situation. But what I am saying is that God would not allow me to be in a circumstance or situation that did not allow me to be able to complete it. Like, before I started this journey, he knew I would complete it. Before I started this journey, he knew what time I would arrive at the airport. Before I started this journey, God already knew the end from the beginning, just like he knows the end from the beginning for your life, for everything concerning you. So why is it that you're running around fretting, being concerned, being worried? Why is it that you're running around saying, well, I don't know if I can. I don't know if I should. I don't know if I'm enough. I don't know if they're going to like me. I don't know. Listen, you don't know a lot of stuff, and you won't know a lot of stuff until you take that step. Take the step. And guess what? What's the worst thing can happen? So what, it doesn't work? So what, they don't like you? So what, it didn't happen in your time frame? So what, you ran into obstacles along the way? So what? The notion, listen to me, the notion that everything has to be perfect and according to your plan is a lie, and it is a trick of the enemy. So we sit up trying to live out lies as truth. We sit up trying to live out lies as reality. We sit up trying to live out lies as this is just who I am. That is a lie. We become who we are based on our experiences, based on things that we experienced in our childhood. We develop these saboteurs to protect us, to get us to the place where we can procreate, make babies, reproduce. But we try to hold on to them beyond their usefulness. Then when they're no longer useful, we've convinced ourselves that it's a part of our identity. It is not a part of your identity. It is a part of your survival mechanisms that really don't even work anymore for you. They work against you and not for you. So now you find yourself in a place where the very things that were designed or instituted or implemented in order to support you, in order to protect you, in order to keep you, are the very things holding you in bondage. Now, how do I know you're in bondage? Because anything other than God's truth about you and your life and your identity is going to create bondage. It's going to create bondage because you're going to be bound to an identity that is not what God gave you. Locked in a prison of your own mind, your emotions, your frustrations. But you don't have to be. But many times we find ourselves in that place. We find ourselves in that place because we don't know how to come out of it. It has become a part of our identity, although it is not our identity. Our identity is who God says that we are. the apple of his eye. That's us. More than a conqueror. That's us. Fearfully and wonderfully made. That's us. Joint heirs with Christ. That's us. And if you are a joint heir with Christ, our elder brother, who came to show us the way, who came to show us what's possible. And then when he was getting ready to leave, he said, and greater works than these shall you do. And you sitting around talking about, well, I can't go over there because they don't like people like us. Or I can't go over there because I'm not good enough. I don't have the right pedigree. Pedigree being your status, how people view you. My baby told me I use a bunch of big words. So I'm trying to make sure I break the words down, right? Because I'm listening, okay? So what are you going to do? Are you going to allow those lies, those saboteurs to continue to convince you to stay stuck in a place that's not where God would have you to be? Or are you going to make decisions that allow you to move out of that place? I'm going to tell you this. There will always be challenges that you encounter in life. There will always be change that occurs in your life. There will always be situations and circumstances designed to distract you, delay you, detour you. It's up to you to make the decision not to allow that stuff to stop what God is doing. Yesterday, last night, as I was getting ready to pull out, I got some disturbing news about someone that we love dearly. And I had to make some decisions. And while everything in me wanted to go to the place where that person was so that I could be with them, I knew I had to get to the retreat. I had to get to the airport to get April. I had to get there. It was not going to allow me. Time would not permit me to go there, to be with them. But I knew who could be there, so I dispatched angels. I sent prayers. I knew that God would be there and God could do more. The angels could do more than I could do. Yes, I could be there physically, but listen, God already was there physically. So I made a decision. That decision may have looked like I didn't care to some people, but I'm grateful that I have a squad that understands that sometimes you got to make the difficult decisions. Sometimes you've got to sacrifice one thing for something else to go forth. And sometimes you got to trust God more than you trust your knowledge and your understanding and what you can do. Situation after situation popped up last night, designed to distract me, designed to take me off my square, designed to make me question who I am, question my integrity, question my value, question me. But one thing about me, baby, one thing about me for sure, on this journey I've been on for the past 2 years, baby, I know who I am. I know my character. I know the content of my character. I know who I am. So you can say that I'm a liar, that I lie. And I'm going to ask you, where's the lie? Tell me what I lied about. What did I lie about? If you can't tell me what I lied about, that's a problem. Because now you're calling me a liar, but you can't even say, if I'm going to call you a liar, I'm going to tell you what you lied about. If I say you lied, I'm going to tell you the lie that you told. It's not going to be generic. But when the enemy is trying to distract you, see, this is why you can't get all in your emotions. Your emotions are designed to be a barometer of what's going on, but not a thermostat. Your emotions are a thermometer, not a thermostat. The thermostat establishes the temperature, but a thermometer just assesses the temperature. The thermostat sets the temperature, but the and I said, oh, it's 25 degrees outside. That's the thermometer. The thermometer says that it's 25 degrees outside. But when I adjust my thermostat in here, I change the temperature in here, even though I can't change the temperature outside. So while you may not be able to change the temperature outside of you, you can change the temperature inside of you. So you got to learn to operate your thermostat. You got to learn when your emotions try to get all worked up and take you out of character, baby, you better adjust your thermostat to cool down when you get too hot. And when you need to heat it up, turn it up. That's what I'm talking about. But you got to be willing to take a step. Every journey that you take in your life is going to start with a single step, a single decision, a single move, and then another one, and another one, and another one. But if you're consumed with people and explaining everything to people and getting the approval of people for every step you take, you're going to always find yourself a victim to other people's emotions and emotionalism. How emotional people get. Some people are just really emotional. So that means that you got to be really emotional because they're really emotional? Not so. I've had to learn to not be moved by people and their emotions. People and what they think about my decisions. People and what they feel like or think I should or should not do. And it doesn't matter who the person is. I can listen to you respectfully as long as you talk to me respectfully. And respectfully ignore what you just said to me. Intentionally. Because what you said to me doesn't align with what God said to me. So if I'm going to believe anybody, I'm going to believe God. If I'm going to act on anybody's words, I'm going to act on God. If I'm going to trust anybody, I'm going to trust God. Because he knows the end from the beginning as it relates to my life. You know what you think my end should be. And you may not even know that. You may just know that you don't like the decisions that I'm making, or you don't like the way that I'm doing something. One thing that I know people don't know how to deal with is how public I am. Why you got to tell everything on Facebook? Well, I don't tell everything on Facebook. I tell what God tells me to tell. I tell what I feel led to tell. I tell what I believe is going to help somebody else. And right now, we live in a society where people are always giving an image, but it ain't real. They show you the end result, but you never see the process, so you think you're the only one going through the process. One of the things that I've chosen to do, because God said do it, is to allow my life to be an open book so people can see the process. So when you see the good things happening to me, you know the hell that I went through to get to it. That someone else just coming on the scene is going to think, oh, she just always gets what she wants. It's not even real. But you all that have been with me for a while, like you've watched my journey. You know the tears I've shed. You know the times that I've been on crying and snotting. You've seen it. You've heard me talk about the challenges. Honestly, openly, from a place of authenticity. Because my values matter to me. It matters to me that I'm authentic. It matters to me that I'm honest. It matters to me that I really share the backside of the mountain as much as I share the mountaintop. See, because we see people on the mountaintop who's like, yes, I want the mountaintop, but we don't know what they had to go through on the backside of the mountain. Like David. See, you can look at David and when he became king and miss the fact that he was on the backside of the mountain tending sheep, had to fight a bear, a lion, fought Goliath. Those are his backside of the mountain experiences. But no, you only remember the times when they sang songs that hail David, David is victorious. We see that. And then we see that to the exclusion of the fact that what he did in those songs that were sung about him resulted in Saul despising him. Not because David did something wrong, but because the people began to praise David more than they praised Saul. So Saul felt the kind of way about that. Same thing that happened with Meghan Markle and the royal family. You know, some people just are thermostats. They come in and they change the temperature. That's what she did. They didn't like that she was changing the temperature. They didn't like that this black girl came in and all of a sudden people were loving her. They didn't like that. They didn't like that. They didn't like that Megan was upstaging her. They didn't like that black girl magic showed up. They didn't like it. But guess what? You need to get ready for people not to like your presence, not to like you, not to like how you show up, not to like how your thermostat comes in and shifts a room where you're not even supposed to have access to the thermostat. Baby, I am the thermostat. When I show up, I give access. I bring access because I am the thermostat. So if the temperature is too cold, baby, I'm going to turn it up. If it's too hot, I'm going to dial it down. You got to know that you have the authority to do that. And because we fail to operate in the authority that God has given us, our God-given right, our birthright as being joint heirs with Christ, daughters and sons of God, daughters and sons of the Most High, we miss it. Well, guess what? I got tired of missing it. I got tired of not recognizing the power that my presence has. I got tired of not standing on what God said because somebody felt away. I got tired of trying to please people that don't give two flying flips about pleasing me. I got tired of it. And I said, God, listen, I'm all in for you. Whatever you say, God, that's what I'm going to do. And each time he said something, I started with a single step. I took that step, and that step led to another step. And that step led to another step. And it led me on a journey that put me living in 4 states in 1 year. It led me on a journey that had me encountering things and people, some who were for me and some who weren't. But none of it stopped me. It led me on a journey that meant that people questioned my decision making and had their own views on what I should and shouldn't do. And you have every right to have your view, but that view has nothing to do with my choices. Our problem is we allow people, their thoughts, their opinions, their feelings to dictate our choices way too much. I'm not saying that it doesn't matter how people feel. I'm not saying that at all. Yes, you can operate in empathy, but I'd much rather be obedient to God and empathetic to someone else's feelings or views. I can be empathetic to your feelings and views and not change what I do. I can empathize with you. In fact, I can use one of my sage powers, one of my God powers, to expand my mind and put myself in your shoes or to see you as a child. Visualize the child that's in that situation. And what is it that the child needs? And what is going on with the child in you? So that I can have empathy and I can empathize. That's one of the 5 sage powers to counteract the weight of your saboteurs. Learning how to empathize with people. But just because you empathize with somebody doesn't mean that you just got to stand on what they're saying with you. No. People who work with me will tell you that I can empathize and challenge you to do something that makes you real uncomfortable. I empathize, I get it. I understand why you feel the way you do. But if you have brought me into your life to help you to accelerate and to advance in your life, then I do you a disservice if I just placate, make feelings okay. Placate you, just make you feel like, oh, this is okay. It's okay for you to cop out. It's okay for you to quit. It's okay for you not to stretch. I do you a disservice. I'm not helping you. I'm hurting you. Think about the times that people weren't honest with you and they told you something looked good when it didn't look good, or that something was a great idea when it wasn't a great idea. They didn't want to make you feel bad. There's a way to do anything and say anything. There's a way that you can say it. If you want to know how you can say something that someone may take wrong or offensively, there's a thing that we teach in communication when it comes to giving constructive criticism. We talked about the sandwich. Create a sandwich. You tell people something good. You tell them the thing that they need to work on or the thing that may be problematic, and then you tell them something good. You start with the compliment. Then you give the constructive criticism, and then you give a compliment. Remember what I said. For every negative thing, it takes 3 positive things in order to outweigh it. When you're giving constructive criticism, you don't want to outweigh the constructive criticism. You want to create enough discomfort so that it can lead to change. But you don't want to put so much negativity out there that a person is not inspired to change. I'm talking about made to change. I'm talking about inspired to change. When I did the DISC profile, my DISC profile says that I am an inspirer. I inspire people. I'm not going to beat you up. Now, I'm probably going to tell you some stuff that you don't like. But my goal is never to beat anybody down until they feel like there's no way out. No, I want to inspire you to create change in your life. If you want something different, do something different. If you want a different result, become different. Tap into what is it that's got you stuck? What is it that's got you stagnant? And then create that change. The challenge is we often don't know how to do that. It's one of the challenges that I have with religion. Religion is often very much rooted in emotionalism. That emotionalism may be good in the moment. In that moment, you feel that emotion. You feel good. You shout. You dance. You fall out under the anointing and the presence of the Holy Ghost. And then you get up and you don't have a tool to use to create practical applications of the word of God that you heard, the word that inspired you. Y'all think I'm just talking? Jesus talks about it in the parable about the 4 types of soil, the seeds that were sown and what happened to them. He said that some seeds will be sown in stony ground. The stones will cut it off, right? So he talks about the different types of soil. And then he talks about the good soil, where the word takes root and the roots go deep and the change is made and growth occurs and you're able to produce life. The same is true in our lives. Sometimes our heart is stony. It's not open to receiving revelation from God. It's not open to receiving correction from God. It's not open. I'm not talking about what everybody else tells you you need to do. I'm talking about what God is ministering to your heart. So we don't know. We don't have the tools. We don't know how to give constructive criticism because guess what? We're taught to talk but not to communicate. Oh, I wish I had a witness right there because that will preach. We're taught how to talk, how to say words, but we're not taught how to communicate effectively. Effective communication is conveying a message that is understood by the recipient and accomplishes its intended goal. Effective communication is relaying a message or conveying a message to a recipient that is understood and accomplishes its intended goal. What are you trying to do? We've got got to get to the point where we understand that there are tools that we need that we may not have, that we may not have been given, that we may not have been taught. And those tools are not just the white tools. Those are tools for effective communication. We need to know how to paraphrase so that when somebody says something, we check and make sure that we have a right understanding of what they said. Because very often, because we filter messages through our lenses, through our eyes, our perceptions, how we view the world, our experiences, we can take what they say. So when somebody says, when you said so and so, I felt so and so. Or when you want to tell me or suggest to me something, rather than saying you need to, I would respond better to a suggestion and not a command. And the person said, oh, so you just don't want me to tell you nothing. You don't want me to tell you nothing. Oh, you so independent, you think you know it all. That's not what I'm saying. I don't think I know it all. But how you say something to me is going to affect how I receive it and how I respond to it. So if your goal is to get me to hear you and act on what you say, I'm just talking about for me. I'm not saying this is true for everyone, but for me, I respond better to a suggestion than a command. Because when you give me a command, then that makes me feel like you look at me like a child. When you make a suggestion, that says you see me as a thinking human being. And you will understand that if I do not take your suggestion, it doesn't mean that I do not value you or your opinion. It simply means that after listening to your suggestion and weighing it about what I know or against what I know, I may decide that that's necessarily what's going to work best for me. And I can convey that to you in a way that hopefully you will be able to understand. But the problem with saboteurs is this. Saboteurs, what they do is they take whatever you hear someone say and they twist it. So you're saying one thing, and then the person says, oh, you're just disrespectful. You don't have any respect. And it's not that I'm trying to disrespect you. It's that what you're saying to me as a command, I feel like you're disrespecting me and my ability to make decisions for my life versus viewing me as an adult who can make choices. Even if my choice may not be the choice that you want me to make, you honor my right to make a choice that is mine. One of the hardest things that I ever had to learn as a parent was to allow my children to make their choices and to understand that my path is not necessarily their path. And the way I would do it is not necessarily how they will do it. But it doesn't mean that their way is wrong. And I have to give them space, even if it is wrong, even if it's not going to produce the result they desire. I have to give them space to do it without judgment and without saying, if it doesn't work, see, I told you, you should have just listened to me. That's the judge. That's the judge saboteur. See, that's why I'm telling y'all, you need to understand what saboteurs you have working in your life. If you understand your saboteurs and how to kill them, then you'll understand what's preventing you from becoming the best you that you can be, the absolute best version of yourself, the most productive version of yourself, the version of yourself that gets results, that produces in a way that produces the life that you desire. That's why I do what I do. I know what it's like to be in that place. I know what it's like to feel like it doesn't matter what I do. I always find myself stuck in the same place. I know what that's like. I know the level of frustration that comes with that. I know it personally. I'm not talking about something I read in a book. I'm talking about what I know. And because I know what that's like, I made a conscious decision to take all of the knowledge that I gained with my PhD, all of the years that I've taught in college and all the different classes I've taught, from communication to psychology to statistics to critical thinking to personal development to whatever, all the child development. I've taught a lot of courses. I've learned a lot of stuff. So my goal and my mission in life is take all that academic knowledge I've gained and make it applicable so that regular people can learn how to change their life. Because we have the ability to do that, to take the word and the academic and combine them, because they don't have to be separate. One doesn't necessarily preclude or exclude or eliminate the other one. Knock it out. But our saboteurs will make us think it does. Our saboteurs will make us think that we can't change our situation, that we're stuck here, that we are a victim. No, you're not a victim. You're a victim of what? Your choices. You're a victim of what? Your decisions. You're a victim of what? Of not identifying, not looking, not examining yourself to be able to find the keys to break the generational curses that have held your family hostage generation after generation after generation. Because guess what? It did not start with you, but you have to be the one to make a decision to change your life. Nobody can do that for you. I don't care how much they love you. I love my children, but there's some things that they've got to discover for themselves. And while they're discovering them, as a parent, it is my job to provide guidance when they are, up until 18, and I can put a little more to it up until they're 18 or out of my house, right? But then I've got to give them the tools they need to be able to be effective decision makers. I make all the decisions for them. I never allow them to gain confidence in their ability to make a decision. And I think it's one of the ways in the Black community we cripple our children. We don't allow them to make any decisions until they're 18. Then they go off and they make these horrible decisions, but you never gave them the opportunity to make decisions. With my first children, I was very dominating. I was very authoritarian. Do what I say because I said it. Do it the way I tell you because that's the way it's supposed to be done. And then I realized something. I realized that I wasn't giving them the tools they needed to be good decision makers. And so I had to make some adjustments. I had to adjust, not them. I did as a parent. I had to adjust. It didn't mean that I wasn't a good parent because I had to adjust. It didn't mean that I just let them do whatever they wanted to do. But it meant that I understood that I can't control their lives. And if I don't give them a space to make decisions, they're going to be in trouble. Because they're not only not going to be able to make decisions, but they won't be able to think their way out of a paper sack. One thing about my children, all of them, they know how to make a decision and stand on that decision. I gave them confidence in their ability to make decisions. Y'all, it is snowing. I done drove up into some snow. I'd much rather have my children have the ability to make decisions, even if that decision is not the best decision, than to have them just wait for me to tell them everything to do. Because I got a problem when you can't make a decision. I need you to be able to make a decision, right? But if I take away your ability to make decisions by making decisions for you and telling you what you have to do, and you got to do it like this. And I got some issues, y'all. I'm not going to lie. I'm a stickler about some stuff. Like you can't be leaving the cabinet doors open and drawers open. Shut this stuff. Shut it. You need to put the stuff in the dishwasher a certain way. I had to learn to back up off that stuff. If how they put it in the dishwasher still gets it clean, what difference does it make? How they put it in there. Now I'm on a power trip. OCD taking over. This is the type of stuff I'm talking about. We've got to be able to grow and to trust that we've given our children the tools required to be thinkers, to make decisions, and given them the confidence necessary not to allow other people and other people's thoughts and feelings and opinions to make them choose. to do it the way other people said. And honestly, I've always been like this. Like I've always been the one that I was gonna make a decision. You know, I was that person when, as a senior in high school, I got pregnant, and I decided, I weighed my options. I said, okay, I've got a full academic scholarship to the University of Kentucky, and I'm pregnant. I have this baby. This baby will come in October. In my first year, my first semester of my college life. That's not going to work very well. It's a lot of change and a lot of adjustment. And I make the decision. My parents didn't make the decision. I make the decision to have an abortion. I made that decision. Now, I know church folks, y'all saying, oh, Lord, y'all, you murdered the baby. And I did. But I made that decision. I dealt with the consequences, and I dealt with God on that thing. So that when I wound up pregnant my sophomore year, I could not make the same decision. Because there were some things that I learned from that experience. There were some things that I didn't want to repeat from that experience. Although clearly I didn't learn the power of a condom, right? Clearly I didn't get that. But what I did learn is that once it's a mistake, twice, no, you got to just deal with that. You need to eat that one. You need to eat that one because at some point you've got to be accountable to yourself. It wasn't about me being accountable to my parents. It wasn't about me being accountable to the to the administrators at the university. It was about me being accountable to me. Now I'm big on that accountability piece, especially being accountable to me. Oh, you just don't. No, you got to own it. You got to accept those consequences. So that's something that God instilled in me. And also my daddy who raised me. I remember my daddy took me to the abortion clinic, ironically in Nashville where we're going, and he dropped me off. I sat in there by myself, waited for them to call my name, went back there by myself, came back out, and waited for my daddy to pick me up. And I remember when my daddy picked me up, he didn't say much then. He took me to my aunt's in Nashville, dropped me off. I stayed for the weekend to just kind of recoup because we didn't want everybody to know. But when my daddy picked me up to take me home, he was real clear with me. He said, listen, now, you're going to school. You can't go to school with no babies, although that was not true because I didn't. But I knew what he was saying. And I remember feeling the weight of his disappointment because my thing was always I wanted to please my daddy. I wanted my daddy's approval. And so I was always working to get his approval. That, too, is a saboteur, right? The notion that we have to earn people's love, okay? It produces a saboteur called the pleaser. So then you just do what you think people want you to do, or certain people want you to do, in order to get their approval, right? So my relationship with my daddy produced that pleaser mentality in me. Although it didn't operate with everyone, it still showed up in my life, feeling like I had to earn love. I had to earn approval. I had to earn liking. And honestly, it's only been, like, I feel like, really, this year is the year that I broke it. Once I really understood the saboteurs and how to kill them, that's when I broke it. Even with my new family, when I found out that my daddy who raised me wasn't my biological father in January, and I found my family, I found myself trying to earn the love of my siblings, earn the love of my daddy, earn the love of my other mama, earn the love of my nieces and nephews, earn the love of my aunts and uncles. I found my cousins. I found myself trying to earn their love. instead of knowing that I am enough in and of myself, right? So I had to learn not to try to earn love, but to show up authentically as me. And those people who were going to love me were going to love me, and those who weren't, weren't, and it didn't matter what I did. Those people who wanted to look at me negative were going to look at me negative. Like, that's what they want. People are going to see what they want to see. They're going to find something that supports what they believe. It's called a confirmation bias. Now, it's science. It's called a confirmation bias. Your brain is trained to look for things that confirm what it believes. It's a part of the psychology. It's a part of our brain's protection mechanisms. It's designed to help keep you safe, so it says, right? But it really works against you. So even as I'm preparing, well, Tim and I are preparing to start our family, which is a new family, which is a combination of my family and his family, and we're bringing all that together. I made a conscious decision that the way that I approach the entire situation is going to be open, with open arms, but not feeling like I have to buy love or try to make somebody love me. I'm not doing that. I'm enough, and they're enough. And so we ain't got to do all that. We ain't got to do all that. We can accept each other as we are. We can love each other as we are. We can build a relationship. It doesn't have to be instant. It doesn't have to be overnight. It doesn't have to be this thing where we're all in, or, we're just all this and all that. It doesn't have to be that. It can be whatever we need it to be, individually and collectively. A safe space to be able to disagree, a safe space to be able to articulate and express our feelings and our emotions, to have real grown folk conversations, a safe space. We get so used to people dictating what we do and not respecting our right to do something different, that we miss amazing opportunities with amazing people because we shut ourselves off because we had bad experiences. I'm not doing that. I refuse to live my life like that. So as we are on this journey, each journey begins with a single step. You got to take a step. You got to make a decision, and you got to act on it. Even with our relationship, we each had to make a decision. We had to take a step to trust, to believe, to open ourselves up to the possibility of love. Before there was love, we had to open ourselves up to the possibility of love, to open ourselves up to be authentic and honest and the real us, not the facade, not the person that we think the other person wants to see or wants us to be, but just who we are, and knowing that who we are is enough for each other. Because guess what? If who you are isn't enough for someone, you can't become enough for them. You can't do it. You're always going to fall short, and it's always going to be made to seem like something is wrong with you. When it's not that something is necessarily wrong with you, it may be that you're in the wrong relationship, or you're with the wrong person, or it's the wrong time. When he asked me to marry him online, like, is he for real? Like, is he for real about this? Nah, I know we've been talking, but is he for real? And then I had to do it without the ring, without seeing. I didn't get the opportunity to see the ring first. God said, no, you're going to have to trust me, baby. And I'm glad I trusted God, because my ring is beautiful. Feels good. He can surprise me anytime. I had to make those decisions. He had to make those decisions. Neither one of us having a guarantee that it was going to turn into something more, or that it was going to work, but having the promise that God gave each of us about our future. Y'all, you can continue to stay stuck where you are, or you can choose to make some decisions that create change in your life. And that's what 2023 Vision Retreat is about helping you to do that, helping you to get the tools. We start tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to go probably from 7 to about 8:30, between 8:30 and 9, just to get started, to get acclimated, to meet each other. You've got homework to accomplish. So we've got a lot of stuff that we're going to be doing over the next few days, from the 26th through the 30th. If you can participate, I encourage you, take advantage of this. I'm still doing the 30% off with the code NOMO. You can do it virtually or live in Nashville. We still have a few seats left for live in Nashville. But and that's $380 minus the 30%, so it takes it to $2 something. Or you can do it online, which is like $170, I think. $170, something like that. But you can use Afterpay. You can do it in 4 payments over 8 weeks. Come on, y'all. You're worth it. Or you can just do December 28th, which is our Vision Strategy Day. And that day is all about creating the vision for 2023. Co-creating with God, putting God in the process, and developing an action plan to use with it. And y'all may say, well, what is going to happen those other days? We're going to do a deep dive and some deep healing. Because the truth of the matter is, for most people, part of the problem is that they're very broken. They're still stuck in their child state from the trauma of their childhood. And you may say, oh, I had a great childhood. I grew up with both of my parents. I get that. But all of us have saboteurs that develop as a result of our childhood, things designed to work against us. And they're connected to our parents' saboteurs. So if your parents got saboteurs, you get influenced by their saboteurs that help produce your saboteurs, which often puts you on an accelerated version, okay, of theirs. But I want you all to know that there is space for you, that there's a place where you can get assistance without spending a whole lot of money. So I'm telling you, what we're going to do would normally cost thousands of dollars. But God had me reduce it so that it was accessible. So go register. Go to bit.ly/DRV Vision 2023. DRV Vision 2023. I don't want you to miss it. I don't want you to miss what God is doing, the opportunity that God is affording for you. I know this. I know what's happened in my life over this past year. I know the things that have changed in me and in my life. I know how I have brought love into my life, how I manifested a proposal, marriage, and not through manipulation, which is normally how I get what I wanted. Like, I manipulated. I told y'all that. Like, I publicly confessed that I used to manipulate them. Man, honey, no manipulation. None of that. Just me showing up authentically. A healed version of me, a clear version of me, and began to get all of the things that I always wanted, but always seemed to have to kind of maneuver people to get, even down to him coming to see me Christmas Eve. Now, normally, a previous version of me would have been hinting at that, or trying to maneuver it, or trying to make him do it. I did none of that. I accepted that we had different plans for Christmas and that we would see each other for New Year's Eve. Like, I accepted that. And without all of that, he called me and said, babe, I was thinking, instead of just going to mama's house, I can come down that way, go see my daughter and the girls, and then come to Tampa and spend Christmas Eve with you. And that worked for me and his daughter. We both won on that, Natasha. But the fact that he thought of that on his own, he did that on his own. That I didn't have to pick out my ring. I didn't have to tell him what I wanted. In fact, he told me, no, don't know what you're doing. No, you don't tell me what you want, what to get you. I said, oh, excuse me, honey. He picked it based on me, based on listening to the Holy Spirit. As he saw the rings, he said, I don't know what I want, but I'll know it when I see it. Y'all, change your life. Go register. Go register. So the one-day event, the Vision Strategy Day on the 28th is $70 live and like 50 something when you do it online virtually. Come on now, $50 over 4 payments. Come on, y'all. Now we can do that now. We can spend 12, 50, $13 every 2 weeks now. We can do that. But do something, because every journey starts with a single step, and this might be your single step. The step you take to create change in your life. But do something. I told you guys that 2023 is a year of manifested miracles, right? And I encourage you guys to sow a manifested miracle seed, whatever God tells you. And you can do that at Cash App $ DRB Walters, Cash App $ DRB Walters, or PayPal.me/DRB Walters. And remember to put in the memo line, the forward line, what you want. Manifested miracle. In what area? What area do you need a miracle in? Where do you need God to move in your life? Be specific. Put a demand on God. Y'all, he ain't going to be mad at you because you put a demand on him. I know people will have you thinking you can't question God. You can't put a demand on God. But he said, prove me in this and see if I won't pour out a blessing that you won't have room to receive. God ain't going to be mad at you for you putting a demand on him. So with all of that said, listen, I've said what I needed to say. I pray that this word blessed you. I pray that you will take the word and apply it to your life and not allow the word to just sit there, right? You recite it, but it has no power in your life, but that you would operate in the power that God has already given us. But I love you guys to life and life more abundant. Go on and register so you can get the email on how to participate, because I want to see you guys experience life-altering changes. Listen, love you to life and life more abundant. You guys have an amazing, incredible, and epic day.